Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Oasis.
The entertainment Oasis.
Whoa, we kind of stumbled there.
I know.
Wait a minute. Whoa, are you unsure now?
I felt like loading. It's like 10%.
Okay, so we finally got around to watching Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yes.
And we gave it some time, let it digest. I personally don't think it's a good idea to give a review of a movie after you just watched it. You know, because it's still, like, yes, it's still fresh, but it's also like, you know, like, let's say like the last 30 minutes of a movie were really good, right? So if you give a review, you still have that like lingering last impression, so you may give like a skewed review. So it's always good to, you know, maybe wait like a day or two and just let the whole movie digest, and just then you can kind of give your fair opinion of the full experience.
In our case, we waited a week.
Yes.
A full week.
But I think overall, I think waiting a week was good.
Yeah,
it was a good decision.
I would say so.
Would you like to give your thoughts first?
Yeah. So I was excited more or less from the start. I wasn't like overly excited, but I guess I was eager to see it. Mostly because of the action in the trailers. So that kind of had me stoked. So when it came out, I told this guy if he wanted to watch, and he's like, yeah, as long as, you know, let's watch it on Disney Plus. That way we don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So there I was on Thursday, like, all right, and then I checked and I was like, wait, why isn't Shang-Chi on here? It's like, yeah. And then I checked online, and apparently it was gonna be one of those that doesn't get released on Disney Plus.
Lame.
So we're
you
like,
lied to us.
You lied to us. So I was like, okay, fine. Let me try to find a showing at the theater, and we went, and I'll admit, the movie had its moments where I was like,
yeah,
cringe, but at the same time, it won me over. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't expect to like Awkwafina's character in the movie, but for me, she was a very enjoyable part.
Not me.
It kind of like it's kind of like the Robin to Shang-Chi's Batman, you know, and I don't know. I just like that dynamic. There is no, and one of the things I love is that there is no love interest for Shang-Chi. It's like, no, he just has his best friend.
It was kind of implied though. I thought it was. They
never did anything that would make you think like, oh yeah, they like each other. If anything, they just had a strong friendship. Because if you really look at some of the other Marvel movies, there's always a love interest. Peggy Carter for Captain America. I forget Natalie Portman's character for Thor. Pepper Potts for Iron Man. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm forgetting Rachel McAdams' character in Doctor Strange. But yeah, so most heroes have a love interest. And for Shang-Chi, it's just like, hey, this is about me, it's about my family. You know, I got my best friend here, who's a woman, and that's cool though, that they didn't just make Awkwafina's character, what do you call it, just someone for the main hero to fall in love with, and to, you know, what they always do with that stupid formula.
Well, I will say, if she was meant to be his love interest, they didn't make it the focus by any means. I will say that. There were small like moments to where like they could hint like that there was some interest. I think like when one of them was when he showed up in the ring, like, where's your shirt or whatever, and then she gave like this like, ooh, like, yeah, kind of like saw him in a different light maybe, but
then she does stuff that makes you think like, okay, that's not something a love interest would do. Like when he realizes she bet against them in the underground fight.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. So that's one of the things I like the most is that, yeah, he didn't really have a love interest. He just has this really cool best friend that he's known since childhood, or since he was like 14, 15 or 16, somewhere around there. So I don't know. I enjoyed that part of it. The action, of course, as I expected, was fantastic.
That was the best part of the movie for me too.
It's just,
they did a good job. Every single action scene I thought was really well done. The choreographed fights, really good, very fast paced, very like, you know, like the power they put behind the hits seemed very, you know, very real, very, very good. I think the only one that I didn't like was the fight between him and his wife when they first met. That one was very cheesy.
Oh,
where
you
it
mean
was basically like
Shang-Chi's dad? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a fight / dance, and it was like I don't know.
that
It was very very cheesy.
Well, okay,
And
I will say this. There were the parts where they were actually fighting were like, oh, that's so cool. But then when they do and then it starts turning those little moments where it turns into a dance. It's like, oh.
Yeah, well, it kept on like switching between the two, and I was like, it's not really. I mean, maybe some people are into that. I don't know. I didn't like that. But anyway, before I go into, I guess, my tangent, you mentioned your positives. Do you have any negatives? Your cons.
Out of the, I know I said I loved the fight scenes. The only one I didn't like was the last one, and I was really hoping, given that the movie seemed, I don't know, it seemed to focus more on just face-to-face, like hand-to-hand combat. I was expecting that the last match would be like just like a fist fight. None of that bullshit like, oh, there's an army of disposable soldiers or something that they all have to fight against. And sure enough, in the last battle, you have the big creature thing that sucks souls, and then you have its little tiny flying creature things that do its bidding.
It's little minions.
So it became one of those, like, same thing like in the second Avengers, where all the Ultron robots and everyone's fighting.
First Avengers too.
And that too, like the Chitauri invasion, and so that kind of like had me. I don't know. I didn't like it, but it was one of those few movies where it actually made sense that the henchmen actually knew martial arts. Because in some of the other movies, you're like, how the fuck do these people, like these henchmen, know how to fight so well? And in this case, well, I mean, they were
part of an elite assassins guild.
Yeah, so it made perfect sense that they knew all these badass kung fu, like not kung fu, but martial arts moves and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was the first time that it actually made perfect sense for me.
Yes.
That they all knew how to fight the way they did. And so yeah, other than that fight scene and some of the cheesiness, because with the comedy, because most of the comedy I enjoyed, but then you had your little moments where the comedy's just a little cringy too. Or not cringy, but kind of forced. I just, as far as the guy who plays Shang-Chi, I feel like when he tried his hand at comedy, it was very hit or miss for me. It's just, I'm not sure he had the comedic timing down. For Awkwafina, more often than not, it would always make me laugh. But I think those were the only two things I really had a disliking for. Just like, some of the comedy was kind of hit or miss, and then the bogus battle against the CGI army at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I'm gonna go over the positives first, and the main thing, like I had already mentioned before, is the fight scenes. I thought they were done very very well. The acting. Simu Liu, I think that's the main guy's name. To me, he just seems kind of flat overall. I don't know, he gives me the impression that in real life he's a very serious guy. And so it just seemed like he was really trying to, like, I guess, come out of his shell in this movie, but I don't know. He just seemed kind of stiff when it came to like the comedy stuff. Now Awkwafina, like, I know she has like a career of being like of comedy, right? Like she's known for like funny roles or something.
Yeah, I think that's what she's become typecast as.
But here, this is my opinion. Like her whole role in the movie was just basically 100% comedy. Like, she was inserted there for specifically that role. And quite honestly, like, the way it fit overall in the whole movie, it just, to me, came off as not just a little forced, it seemed very forced. Like, I don't know, it just didn't, like, the comedy didn't flow naturally. Like, every single line, every time, basically everything that she said or did was supposed to be comedy. And it just didn't feel natural. Because you come from, like, the main guy who's very serious, and then his dad also, who plays a very very serious character too. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the complete opposite with her. Like, it just seems very like placed and forced. I don't know, like if you look at the comedy in other Marvel movies, especially like the Iron Man movies, that didn't come off forced. Like to me, it just came off as like really natural, with like I guess part of Tony Stark's character. But even other characters like Thor and stuff, who really isn't meant to be funny. The comedy in the Thor movies, like in the Avengers movies, that didn't seem forced either. This one to me did, and it was like I don't know. The comedy was just like super cringe. I don't know. I wasn't a fan. I did like his dad, the actor. His name's Tony. I forgot his last name. Tony something. But I thought he did a good job. He played a very like serious character. I don't know. Like he. I thought he did a good job. I liked his story. Like you mentioned before, the fact that it wasn't just like some randos that just knew how to fight. No, like he was alive for what, 1,000 years?
No, that's how long he had the 10 rings for, but he was alive even before that.
Even longer than that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he had mentioned something like 4,000 years, something around that.
Yeah.
I think.
So there's a reason why he knows how to fight. There's a reason why he knows how to use those rings so well. And there's a reason why he was able to build such a like vast empire, because he's been around for so long, and you know he had time to hone his craft in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. That's another big gripe that I had. So of course, probably should have mentioned this, and it's probably implied with spoilers. So eventually he does die, as far as we know. Mm-hmm. Gets his soul stolen, and the rings pass on to Shang-Chi. And he just automatically knows how to use them, like almost flawlessly for some reason. Like that to me was a big strike off. Like it's understandable that the dad knows how to use them perfectly, because he's been using them for literally what,
a millennia,
maybe even over a millennia. But Shang-Chi gets them like, you know, right there and then, and he just instantly within the hour just knows how to use them. And I don't know, that to me was like, they shouldn't have done that. Like I understand if like he knew how to like harness the power and like, but as far as like all the maneuvering and like just like having them like flow and all this, like nah, that to me was like, that was unbelievable to me. Another thing was, I know there was a point, by the way, where I got up to use the restroom, so I may have missed like a little piece of the movie. Mm-hmm. But the dad was motivated because he kept hearing his wife's voice, who was dead by that time. Yeah. He kept hearing her voice in his head, and she was luring him to the world, but it ended up being that soul-sucking creature. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, they didn't really do a good job of explaining why or how that creature was getting into his head, or
I'm pretty sure they mentioned that it's because it had to do with the rings themselves. That I guess it could sense the rings and in turn telepathically communicate. Yeah. With the dad, since he had the rings on him. Because there's a point where he asked like, was he wearing the rings or something? He's like, yeah. And kind of like, I don't know, I felt like that maybe that helped explain like, okay, so that's how he knows to contact this guy, because he knows that, okay, those rings can actually break this barrier that I'm behind. Yeah.
So overall, at first I was gonna give this movie a 7, because there was a lot of things I liked about it. Like the action was good, the acting, like some of the characters I really liked. But first off, what got me to the 7 was just, of course, like the out of place, the very forced inserted comedy, the acting between the main guy and Awkwafina was just, I don't know, wasn't too big of a fan. But what knocked it down from a 7 to a 6 for me, after I took the time to think about it and review it all, is the CGI.
It wasn't the worst.
But it wasn't. Okay, I have very high standards when it comes to Disney Marvel movies for CGI, mm-hmm. because they have pulled off some amazing stuff. I think the best I've ever saw was the final fight for Endgame. Okay. That final fight scene was phenomenal. Probably, actually to this day, it might have been the best CGI I've ever seen in any movie.
keep in mind though, I think that was the most expensive movie they've made so far. So I doubt Shang-Chi had the same budget that Endgame.
True, but even in older Avengers movies, it was still good. Like in Infinity Wars, like what they did with Thanos, and even in the very first Avengers movie, I thought they did a pretty good job.
I'm pretty sure Infinity War also had a massive budget because it was the culmination of all the Marvel movies finally like.
Okay, but how about the very first one then?
That was okay at best. I would feel like it's on par with the one from the first
but
Avengers.
that one's already 10 years old.
I don't know, man.
So to me the standards are pretty high, and the first Avengers came out in 2011. This is 10 years later, you know, and I don't care. You can argue about the budget, but like the dragon, the CGI on the dragon, the CGI on the main villain and its little creatures. Yeah, I don't know. They could have done better. So that knocked it down from a 7 to a 6 for me.
No, I gave it a 7. I gave it a solid 7.
Okay. I was going to until I thought about the CGI, and I was like, nah, that doesn't get a pass.
One of the things that really helped me, like, I guess, really like the movie was the dad.
Me too.
And his
yeah.
backstory.
He was the best character in the movie, I would say.
Because you know how in almost any movie, it doesn't have to be a superhero movie, you always have that villain, and it's like, I want to take over the world. And to an extent, the dad had more or less achieved that, and he got to that point where I was like, well, damn, what's next? Like, but not only that, the fact that his sole motivation in this movie was something you can relate to, like, holy shit, this guy's just going through all this because he wants to get his wife back. And I don't know, like, I felt that that's relatable. If I can assume, like, most people would identify with that, and if they were in his shoes, and someone was calling out to him, and you thought, okay, yeah, that's my wife or my significant other, you would do the same thing. If you had the resources, you would do the exact same thing he did, even if there was like a small chance that like she's still alive, and they have her captive over there. It just turns out, he was just a what do you call it? He was taken for a fool, I guess.
He was, and also like, he wasn't just tricked, but he was also just obsessed, like driven with obsession and desperation. And I think at some points he even does like doubt it, but that feeling like I want to see her so bad just kind of kept trumping it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I'm probably wrong. If there's even the slightest chance that it's real, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, and I really liked that. And that's what really helped me give it a 7. Because in most other movies, it's like, oh no, well, I just want to rule the world. You know, generic reason. Like, I just want to rule the world, but why? It's like, oh, I just want to rule it. Like, it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But with this guy, it's like, no, it's more grounded, more relatable to just everyday people. It's like, yeah, dude, like, we don't blame you. Like, it's like, if you want to see if she's out there, do it, man. It's like, I feel like I'd be an asshole just to be like, nah, man, don't do it. Well, fuck your wife, like.
Well, he also did say, like, if her village tries to stop us, we're just gonna kill everybody. so he definitely wasn't like
the things we do for love.
He was definitely more of a villain for most of the movie. He was more of a villain by far.
He was a villain with good motivations, or pure-hearted motivation.
I wouldn't. Pure-hearted, but in a very like twisted way. Yeah, I wouldn't call it pure-hearted. Because he was also like, I'm gonna kill anybody who gets in my way. So. Isn't it? So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it's no different than when Liam Neeson was doing in Taken. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get my daughter, or I'm gonna kill anyone who stands in my way. And he does. He kills everyone who stands in his way.
Yeah, but that was kind of different. Those people were criminals. The people in the village were not criminals.
He didn't know. He thought they were criminals because he was being tricked. So I feel like he's just as good of a guy as Liam Neeson's character in Taken.
But that's okay. Look at it in this way. Let's say if I live in a village, right, and I know a monster is sealed away, and
he didn't know there was a monster sealed away.
I know, but let's just say this. Let's say it's my village, right, and I know it's my village. I know it's sealed away, and some guy comes in and tells me like, hey, my wife is beyond that wall, and I'm like, no, there's a messed up creature in there. You can't go in there. Well, I'm doing it whether you like it or not. I'm gonna kill your village. It's like, what the hell, dude? This is my village, and I know, and you're just some rando is gonna come in and kill everybody because of his ignorance, that's fucked up.
So okay, let's put Liam Neeson in that same situation.
It's not the same thing.
Let's say he's like, hey, my daughter is on that that yacht.
But in this case, he knows that they're on there, and he knows that those people are criminals.
No, he suspects that they're on there. He
got the intel from that guy, the one that he shot in the elevator.
But how do you know he was telling the truth?
Why? He was trying to save his own skin. Why wouldn't he?
People lie all the time. Bad guys lie all the time. So I mean, yeah, he showed up.
Dude,
like, my daughter's on that yacht, and it's like, well, no, there's no one on this yacht. Even though they're lying, it's like, well, I'm gonna kill everyone here until I find out if she is on that yacht. He goes in,
there's guards with guns. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Okay, there was guards with like mystical lions and weapons.
After they knew he was coming. God damn it.
All I'm saying is that he is a good person at heart, and he was doing it for love, because what's more important in this world than love? So that's why I give it a 7. You know what?
Kill everybody.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it a solid 8 just because of that.
Out of spite. Out of spite.
Because I know he's a good person deep down in his heart. So that's what I give it. I give it an 8. I give Shang-Chi an 8 because it's a beautiful love story that ended tragically.
Still a better love story than Twilight.
Yeah.
Had to say it.
But
no, but
that's what you have for them.
No, but overall, I think it's worth a watch. Not for theaters though.
Not for theaters?
No, for a streaming service, yes. For theaters,
I would disagree with that.
I would have to say no. Like if I came here and like the CGI for me wasn't a problem, then I would have said yes. Go see it. Seeing the CGI on the big screen is worth it. But because it's not, then I'm gonna have to say no.
No, I would say it is definitely worth watching in theaters. For the fight scenes alone, like those are the type of fight scenes that you want to watch on a massive screen with like an amazing surround sound. That way you can just get lost in all the action. But I definitely recommend you guys give it at least one watch.
At least one watch, whether it be theaters or streaming service.
But any last words you have for them?
No, as usual, let us know if you've already seen it. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. If you haven't seen it, did this convince you? Like now that you are going to go see it, let us know. And just give us all that feedback.
Yeah, but until then, thank you guys for joining us, and we hope you guys come back to the Oasis.
The Entertainment Oasis. Peace out.
Adios.